Welcome to the Under the Lights Football Podcast. My name is Nate Johnson, and I look forward to talking with you about various aspects of coaching football. I'm entering my 10th season as an assistant coach. I'm currently the offensive coordinator at Riverside High School in Bell, West Virginia. We will talk in depth about X's and O's, but we'll also talk about the part of coaching that most people never see, the part of coaching that takes up the most time. Most people only see the football team when they are competing on the field. They don't realize all the other things that the team must do to prepare for being on the field. I want to give an insight of a high school coach's perspective from the everyday grind and being with the football team during the school day, to fundraising, communicating with parents in the community, practice planning, recruiting, managing time, off-season workout programs, and setting expectations for players, coaches, and fans. I can name aspects of the game that we could discuss all day. I want to be able to bounce ideas from each other and hopefully educate each other on our craft. We have the best career in the world, and we can learn from each other. After all, we do it for young people. Our main drive should be to make our players successful in football, and most importantly in life. So if you can learn from podcasts, coaching websites, or even Twitter, then you should do just that. The co-host of Under the Lights podcast is Coach Alex Daugherty. Coach Daugherty is our receiver coach and is transitioning into coaching the offensive line.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Coach. Like Nate said, I'm entering my second season at Riverside, where I graduated in 2012. I'm looking forward to getting involved with this podcast. I think it's really good, not only for us, but as well to get your insight as well. So I'm looking forward to that.
All right, awesome. The reason I chose the topic, how to be an effective assistant coach, came because of all of the interviews that we did last school year. We posted 3 assistant coaching jobs and had a lot of people apply, and I sat in on a lot of the interviews. And I'm kind of like obsessed with the idea of like production. So like I kind of approached my school day and football practice with a thought of like, how can I get more done with less time? Like I always feel like there's always something that I could be doing. And so like that's why I wanted to make this episode, how to be effective. So there are two types of coaches that we had to interview. The first is assistant coaches that are actually teachers. And in our county, our school district, for that matter, if you are a teacher, you will get the coaching job over someone who's not a teacher. You're certified, and you can be in the building with the football team. But that isn't always the case. A lot of coaches that are on our staff are not teachers. They have other jobs. And I feel like that's the way a lot of teams are in our county. Assistant coaches that are teachers in the building, some of the things we have to do during the day is we stay on top of our athletes, make sure they're making the grades, being respectful in the school, representing the team positively. On top of teaching our classes, we take it upon ourselves to check in on students. Some assistant coaches go to teachers and check on the students. I'm currently a teacher in the school, and one way that I take advantage of being a teacher in the school is having a pregame meeting in my room at lunchtime. So every Friday, we have an hour lunch, and so the first 30 minutes they eat their lunch. This is mainly for the offensive line. So the second 30 minutes of lunch, they will come to my classroom and we'll go back over all the blocking schemes and different blitzes and packages that we need to be ready to see on Friday night.
Yeah, and with that hour lunch, I coach baseball as well, but during this hour, I know you do as well. We see a lot of our kids, whether it's in the gym or in the classroom. They come and see me and see you if they have any questions like about the day before. And I think it makes it not only are you gaining like a relationship with the kids during this time, I mean, it also gives them time to reflect from the days before and like, man, like what do I do during this? You know, what's my responsibility? And I think it helped like not only, again, with that relationship, but as well as like the scheme we do. Because like if they ever have a question, they know they can come to us during the day. They know our block periods, or they know what we have when we're free, and I think it's good that gives them opportunities to just come and talk about it because sometimes like during practice they won't really come up to you like and ask you then in front of the other students or in front of the other players. I don't know if it makes them feel like, oh man, I don't want to feel stupid, like say I don't know this and stuff, but I think it makes them when you're alone, like in the school, I think it's easier for them to talk to us about it and give them a day to think about it.
I agree, and something that we do as a staff that has really been beneficial to our success is we film practice, and all of our student athletes have huddle. So I've had students come to my room during lunchtime with one play, and they say, this happened. I saw this blitz. So how do I pick this up?
It's funny because like you'll ask you, hey, have you watched huddle from the day before? Like, yeah, I watched it during films class or something. Like, man, are you supposed to be watching it? And they're like, well, I did anyway.
Yeah.
So I think it's real funny because they'll do it like, whether they're allowed to or not. Like, I think it's an effective tool for them because they get to analyze themselves. It is a team game, but at the same time, like it comes with perfecting your own self, and I think it's really good. It's a good opportunity for them to see, like, focus on themselves, like for different plays. Like, man, I did the wrong steps here. What can I do different to improve? I think it's been a really good tool for us.
Yeah, for coaches and players. And what I really like about it is players they can zoom in on their iPads. Every one of our student athletes have iPads that were given to them by the school, so they all have the Huddle app. And so the coaches will put on the Huddle notes for that person to see, and they'll watch it, and we'll correct it the next day. And that really helps our practices flow because you don't have to stop practice to fix a mistake. We roll with mistakes, and we fix it after practice on film.
Plus, if we see something, we literally text the kid, like, check out play 16.
Yeah.
Like, you're not supposed to do this. And it lets us set more expectations for them because we always say the eye in the sky don't lie. So, like, they know we're able to see it. So, obviously, like, we're going to pick at them if they do something wrong. And I think it sets more of a, I got to do this right, or they're going to get on to me type of thing. I think it's good.
Right. And I also think it's important that you point out the good things they do. And some people, they'll take practice film and put it on their highlights. Now, I get that it's a scout team, but like if they do a really nice pull where they pick up a different type of blitz on, let's say we're running power, and they pick it up right, I think it's worthy of being on a highlight film.
Yeah, and we just got done with our 3-week period, and we had a receiver because I'm a receiver coach here, and there's this one kid who, we always thought he's going to break out this year, and he had a play, and we called verts, and he made a one-handed catch. It was our first filmed practice. We hadn't filmed anymore. He's like, I'm going to put that on my Huddle highlights.
Yeah.
Like, all right. Like, it gives them an incentive to do better, I feel like, because they're all about them highlights. So, like, those players love their highlights. So.
What I think is funny about that is I had him in gym class, and he would always want to one-hand catch footballs. And every day I'm like, use two hands. And I think he may catch better with one hand, it seems like. But if he can do it, he can do it. A couple things that I think that are important if you want to be an effective assistant coach is one is you have to have loyalty to the head coach, to the team, and to the community. First off, I think the head coach should set the expectations for what the assistant coaches should be doing. I think our head coach does a good job of that, Zach Davis. He keeps people informed, the communication's clear, and that really helps things flow with our program too.
Yeah, I agree.
And so, like, loyalty with the head coach is you are following that philosophy. And I've been with a few different head coaches, and they've all had different philosophies. And one of my favorites is the philosophy of being positive all the way through practice. It was a community, not a whole lot of positive things were happening. And so when our players were there, it was a good time.
Yeah. We were talking about that kind of before briefly, but you don't want a kid to come from a negative home to a negative practice because, I mean, what incentive do they have to come to practice? I feel like, I'm going to a positive environment, so, I want to go to practice. So I think it's good. I think that's definitely good, especially in like a negative and coming from a negative home environment. It gives the kids that positive environment they're looking for.
Yeah, and it seems like when our football players, they're here all August, all summer, sweating, getting dirty. But when school starts, they're in the classroom. I feel like they're attracted towards each other. You see them walking in the hallways together. So it's a brotherhood. It's a safe place to be. So they need to have fun while they're here. The second team is they need to have assistant coaches need to have loyalty toward the team So you put the team first. And what I mean by that is you want to try to instill pride. And how do you do that? You want the players to be proud of where they're coming from. So they're going to practice hard. They're going to be proud of how they practice, how they compete, and how they perform.
Yeah, I think it's like with you and I. We both graduated from here, and not many people, I guess, can say that they graduate from where they coach and teach now. But I think that helps as far as like just our pride for this community is great, you know.
Yeah, I think it's kind of incentive to work even harder because we want to be proud. We're proud of where we come from. We know families of our players. They saw us growing up, some of them.
Yeah.
And at the same time, that could be a little harder because you are Alex and I am Nate that grew up in this community. It's not Coach Daugherty or Coach Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really feel like we have that problem because we put so much work into the program and into the community. We're involved. The third thing I think the assistant coach needs to have loyalty toward is the community. Like we were just saying, you need to, when we do fundraisers, that's a community event. Like we meet people that we haven't seen before. It's an opportunity to meet people's family. So they meet you, and it needs to be an open line of communication where if I do see that person walking on the street, I realize that's so-and-so's mother or dad.
Yeah.
And they can have that connection.
And when we go to, away games, I think it's important to note that we are representing that community, and it's important for our kids to know that as well. Like, we don't want to go somewhere and, oh, man, them Riverside boys are coming up here again, just to create trouble. I think it's very important that we set a very important, like we are representing not only us, not only our team, not only our school, but the whole community. And we have a large community with Riverside, so I think it's highly important.
Yeah, we're representing the team, coaching staff, players, and the school.
Mm-hmm.
So, if one person is doing something they probably shouldn't or cheering or acting in a negative way, that impacts the whole thing with the community team, even though it really doesn't. It kind of relates it to it. Like, those people act this certain way. And I think we have some awesome fans. I think we have great parents. There's a lot of involvement this year. We've made a lot of money through fundraisers because of parents. We just recently went to the W717, and we took a crowd with us. And they had fold-out chairs everywhere we went. They were on the sideline cheering.
I would argue we had probably the most fans of any team there.
I would say so, and we're 3 hours away.
Yeah.
The second thing that we want to talk about how to be an effective assistant coach is being knowledgeable. And one reason that Coach Daugherty and I have such a good relationship is he looks for ways to be better. And I kind of feel like I do this all the time. As soon as I wake up, I feel like I'm listening to something on Glazier or a YouTube video or even reading a book to help me be a better football coach.
Today, there's so much resources for us. There is no reason as a football coach, as an assistant coach, that we shouldn't try to better ourselves. There is no reason for you to think that you know everything coming into it, and it's very important to keep an open mind and to learn something. Try to learn something every day that will improve not only your position but the team as well. So I think it's very important.
Yeah, one of my favorite parts of the day is like in between classes. Coach Daugherty is across the hallway from me, and I'll come and like throw him an idea or like, what do you think about this? Or how would you stop this? Or how do you think this wouldn't work? What problems would we run into? And we bounce ideas off each other like that. And if we don't know, we'll reach out. And I've contacted coaches, and it's kind of a fraternity. You can just call coaches. They'll talk to you.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, most coaches love talking football.
Oh, yeah.
So you can use that. I'll use websites, podcasting. I love podcasting. I have about a 20-minute ride to work. So it's podcasts all day. I don't really listen to music anymore.
And another reason that, for this podcast, I think it's good is it's not us trying to give the information. We're also trying to receive information from other coaches to make us better. So, this isn't just us, just saying what's best. This is how. No, we want input as well for how to improve ourselves. If there's an idea out there that we don't know about, because we're on the same staff, we mostly have the same philosophies. We would like to hear other people's philosophies and
absolutely,
takes on things as well. So I think this is not only to help other people, but help ourselves as well. And this is just another great resource. I love the Glazier clinics. We got our we went to one this year in Cincinnati, and I learned a lot. That was my first one I went to, and I learned a ton in just those couple of days I was there. So I think if you can go to one, I think you should go to one.
Yeah, and I believe you should learn something new every day. It doesn't matter how small. A couple years ago, the staff I was on went to the Ohio State football clinic, and Urban Meyer was talking about, you probably have your scheme, you've coached for years, you're comfortable with it, your athletes know it. He said, but if you can take away one tiny nugget from this clinic, then it was a successful clinic. And so we kind of have our scheme set and what we do and what we think we're good at. But like when I was at that clinic, I kind of was looking new ways to call things, new signals, am I calling this block something that they're calling it different? Is it better? And I kind of saw a few things that I liked, but I also saw a few things that it wouldn't really work for what we do. But I did take a couple of things from that clinic. As small as they were, it was a successful clinic. And I think you must continue to learn the game. One of the most recent things are RPO stuff. And people, I think the new thing is, how do you stop RPOs? I think that's the most talked about conversations when we go to these clinics.
And with that, just like anything, man, the game evolves, and I've seen it in just the short time I've studied the game. Like, there's always a better way to do things, and I think that's why it's important to always, just be open-minded about new things coming. And I've witnessed myself coaches refusing to evolve as the game evolves. And they are at a disadvantage completely if you are not willing to try new things or look into different things and how to better yourself. I think that's a huge one of the biggest mistakes a coach can make is, oh, no, I'm doing it this way. I'm not going to change. This is how I've always been. I've won games like this. Well, why not just try and look into different things? You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's one of the things that bother me when talking about assistant coaches is the lack of effort to learn. And I was speaking to a coach that he's a retired teacher, but he continues to coach. He said, I asked him if he would like to go to a clinic with us. He's not even on our staff. And he said, well, I've been going to those things for years. He said, I know about what I'm going to know, and I'm going to teach what I know. He said he really don't get anything from them.
You can't get any better, huh?
You can't get any better. And so, I'm reminded by the Urban Meyer quote is if you can take one small nugget, it was a successful clinic.
And we were lucky that, it was funded. Like, why not go? Like, it was funded for us, correct?
Right.
I mean,
it was free.
We really didn't have to.
Our boosters paid for it.
We literally had to find. We all rode up together. You didn't even have to. We all chipped. Just go.
It was fun just being with coaches.
Exactly.
We're teaching all week.
I don't understand that at all.
We're teaching all week. We're kids. This is our getaway. It's kind of like a vacation for coaches. Yeah. And I really like networking with different coaches. I met a few coaches from Ohio that was really cool to talk to.
And we see coaches that are from our near us, they're here. That's cool.
Yeah.
They're trying to get better.
And you don't see them very often.
Yeah.
A school that's 2 hours away, but you have that connection. You can talk to them. How was your season? How's your off season
exactly.
going? One of the guys that I read is Dale Carnegie, and one of the quotes that I really like is, when dealing with people, remember you're not dealing with creatures of logic, but creatures of emotion. So when the third one is maturity. So how do you handle your emotions? So, you see people, we were just at the Concord 7-on-7 clinic, or not the clinic, I'm sorry, the 7-on-7 tournament, and we were in a championship with a team from Virginia, and their coach was screaming and yelling, and he was purple
making
in the face.
Making a fool of himself.
Yeah, he was, and I was like, you could say the same thing, just lower your voice. Like, he knows he messed up. You don't have to embarrass him in front of the whole state, and that's just my opinion. I mean, that's his style coaching, then go for it. But, just tell them what they've done wrong. And the thing is, that person knew what they had done wrong. Like, he was ready to try it again and do it right.
And we talked about that at the WVU 7-on-7 because I wasn't able to make the Concord. And this is your 10th year. You're going into your 10th year, is that
right.
correct? And you were telling me, I used to kind of do that. And, you realized that wasn't as effective, correct?
Right.
So you changed to a different perspective of things, right?
Right. When I was younger, it was a lot of energy in practice, and there still can be a lot of energy.
Right.
But when I feel like, and something else that kind of got me to change the way I coach is I was at one of our feeder schools watching the upcoming 8th graders play, and this parent was standing on the fence watching his son return a punt. Well, the ball was kicked right to him, and he dropped it, and he screams, "You got to catch that!" Well, he knew that, but now he knows his dad saw him, and he's embarrassed him in front of everybody. Like, he knew he was supposed to catch that. So, like, wow, that was redundant to say. And I feel like, again, going back to, like, the positive practices, like, if I'm going to yell at you, it's not a positive practice. There's going to be a little bit of tension there.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to tell you what you did wrong, how to correct it, and I want to see you do it.
But the fans watching from the sideline, they don't know. You know what I mean? It's between you and that player, and there's positive and negative energy. There's a right way to do things, and there's a wrong way to do things. And with us anyway, like, we realize that the negative energy don't really work.
Yeah, I don't think it works. It hasn't worked for me.
Yeah.
And if the student athlete does the same thing over, and I continue to yell, it's just beating them down. It's learned failure.
Right.
So,
that's where expectations come in. Like, you are expected to do that. You know that.
Yeah.
We'll find somebody else who can.
And this being our second year as the offensive staff, I feel like all of us kind of have that same mentality. Like, we're going to tell you how to do it. We're going to teach you. We're going to coach you up. That's what we're here for. And so our practices run smoother. I feel like we go fast. And one thing I like about you is when they do mess up, when the week that you weren't here, I felt like I was coaching the receivers, going in here telling the offensive line what to do. And I realized it was early and a lot of mistakes were being made. But when you came back, I went to go say something and you were already saying it. And you weren't yelling. You were just saying, hey, this is how you do this. And we're right back at it.
Yeah, I'm with you. Yelling doesn't really work for me. I mean, I'm not much of a yeller anyways, but I don't see. I don't know. I don't get it.
Is there a place for it? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Is there a time to do it? Absolutely. When the lack of effort, and last year we had just got beat out of the playoffs, and there was just a lack of effort, and you had to kind of push them to get going. But at the same time, I don't think that embarrassing a player in front of his team, coaches, and fans is making the problem better.
And I don't know. I teach my kids that I can handle physical mistakes, but I don't do effort. Like, you got to give full effort. I can handle the physical mistakes, but not the mental ones. As far like we talk about effort, not knowing the plays. Like, we are doing the plays repetitively, and you go in and you don't know them. That's not okay.
Right. It's a mental thing, and I agree with you. You don't coach effort. And that's actually the next one of being an effective assistant football coach. Number 4 is effort. I believe we're hired to work, coach, and teach. So when I show up at the field house for practice, even when I get out of the car, I'm looking for something to do. Like, even if there's trash on the ground on my way to the field house, I pick it up and put it in a trash can. I just feel like that's my job and my duty.
That's a pride thing.
It's a pride thing. And I take care of, this is part of the community. I take pride in the way things look. So, I'm always out on the practice field, either lining it, cutting it, and other coaches are too. I think we have a great staff.
Yeah. I'm always like, where's Nate? He's always out there cutting grass. Like, oh, okay.
I just feel like there's always something to do. And I kind of got that from Clemson. I went down a few years ago with some coaches, and they hired us for a week. Yes, sir. And one of the things they stressed was this is a working camp. You're to work from the time you have the student athletes to the time we turn them into the dorms. And, like, I agree with that 100%. We're responsible for these people. And so, and if there's trash on the ground, it needs picked up. Even though you didn't do it, there's still trash on the ground. It needs picked up. We're in this together.
Somebody needs to.
Because we're going to leave it for someone else.
Exactly.
Are we better than them not to pick up trash?
And you got to think nobody else is going to do it. So I'm going to do it.
Yeah. And then that's the mentality. It's somebody else's job. Well, no, we're all in this together.
That's the custodian's job.
Right.
No.
That's your job.
Exactly. We go in the locker room. There's clothes. No, come on now. Pick your stuff up. Right. Put it in your locker.
And I feel like the communication thing is huge because we told our student athletes that locker room needs to be clean every day.
Every day, yeah.
And we walk in there to check it, and we haven't had a problem with that. And I think it's just because that standard was set. It needs to be clean every day. They clean it every day.
Yeah.
I think that's where a lot of problems run into when it's not clear communication. Like, well, they're not going to check today. No, we're checking every day. It needs to be done.
Yeah, we go back there a lot every day because that's where our other office is. So we go out, check it, go to the practice field.
Yeah. And so, like, talking about effort, I feel like people give more effort when they're having fun. And I take our classes, for example. When you student taught with me and we had PE, how much more effort did we get out of students instead of in a classroom, because it's fun to them.
Yeah.
I mean, it is what it is. So there's a whole lot. You're not going to see someone working a math problem as hard as they are trying to get that 3-point shot to go in. I mean, you might, but for the most part, they like being active. They like being hands-on. And so another quote from Dale Carnegie is, people rarely succeed unless they have fun in what they're doing. So I think that's really why we have so much fun coaching. It's what we want to do. It's our drive.
And we make it fun for we have that relationship to where they can joke with us, we joke with them. Yeah, we have fun when we're out there as well.
Yeah.
Is there a time to be serious? Absolutely. We're going fast. We're on Team-O. We're trying to get, but in Indy, there's times where we crack a couple jokes, like we're getting in the chutes and you say something and, they're laughing. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
It's not, you don't have to be serious all the time.
Right. And going back to having fun and being positive in practice, this is somewhere that you want them to be.
There's some 14-year-old kids out there and you're wanting them to just, have a straight face, be serious all the time. No, it's not going to work.
Yeah, it needs to be fun. I think it makes it fun for coaches too.
Yeah.
We should have fun.
It shouldn't be a stale job.
Right.
You should have fun doing it.
This is a game.
Yeah.
No, there's a time to be serious. Absolutely. When we're in team, I want to get this done. I want it done right. And what makes it fun for me too is when we're in Team-O, what's fun is running plays. Standing around is not fun.
Right.
So what I like about going back to communication is, I'm an offensive line coach and the offense coordinator. When they do something wrong, it's usually me saying maybe one word, maybe two at the most, to a player for them to realize what they should have done, or if they're seeing something they're not sure of, how do they react to it.
And we got a good O-line now that I think that they know after the play what I did wrong, and you just have to maybe trigger word it oh yeah, okay, yeah, I did that wrong.
Yeah.
I think they're getting good, which is what we should be aiming for. They're good at self-help now.
Right.
They know what they have done wrong. And I think that if you get to that point, that's a lot better than us having to tell them. If you know the mistakes you're making, then we're good. You're onto something. You can now correct that the next play.
Right. No, what's the status? I think it is 90% of what you teach you remember. And so what I like doing, I've done in the past, is now that our offensive line has a year under their belt, we've had the same ones back, I will allow them to coach the JV. This is how you block this. This is, when you have an odd, this is the checks you make. And so now they remember. And I'm confident enough that they could teach it. And so you definitely have to have fun, but also give effort. So the fifth one is I think you need to be a role model for these student athletes. When you're talking about young people, I feel like they're always watching. And I've had this happen when I was just talking to you about something that's happened at school or in my personal life. And then 10 minutes later, when I'm coaching a kid up, he'll bring it up. I'm like, well, I didn't even know you were listening.
Yeah.
You didn't see. How did you see me do that? And it's not that they're being nosy. I think they genuinely care and they want that relationship with their coach. And I think we have a bunch of people, not only just our team, but nationwide. Football's become where they want to know, why do I do that? And with huddle and all these schemes, they're intelligent football players.
Generation Y.
Yeah, Generation Y. They want to know why we do this. And I think it's awesome. It drives me to teach them because they want to learn.
Yeah, I agree.
And the last one, I think, if you want to be an effective assistant football coach, is preparedness. And we're going back to the clinics. If you need to learn, like you said, there's no reason why you shouldn't be trying to learn, especially if you don't know something. There's material out there.
And I think we do something, I think it's good. We meet every single Sunday after a Friday night game, and that helps us. The purpose of that Sunday is not only to break down the film from Friday, but what are we going to do this week? And so I think it's good that we have that time that we can plan for the days coming. And I think that helps us know, what are our goals this week? I think it's very good to set goals for yourself. And, again, go back to the, you don't want to do the same thing. If you need to improve somewhere, that's what you need to work on.
Right.
You shouldn't have the same practices every single, if I'm the receiver coach and, we struggled blocking on Friday, I'm not going to come in Tuesday and be like, all right, back to the route tree, ball drill and stuff like that. I'm going to work on what we need to work on. And am I going to make it fun? What receiver likes to block? Nobody.
Right.
They want the ball in their hands.
Sure.
It's a very important part of the game, though. And if we're struggling with it, it needs to be fixed.
Sure. No, so many times last season we would broke it and like one block away, like, the receiver missed it. And I think we got so much better as the season went on, but it has to be, a huge part of your practice. We're about a 65-35-ish run to pass ratio.
Yeah, and sorry.
No, you're fine. So like in practice, like, are we going to spend all of our indie time on routes with no blocking? Because we don't throw the ball every down. So if we were air raid, okay, let's work on our routes.
Yeah, and I heard one of the I forget which coach it was, but they said, think about your best receiver. Think about his best day, right? His best game. Probably 10 catches, 150 yards maybe, a couple touchdowns. Think about how many plays you run. What was the play count we had against Parkersburg?
It was in the 60s.
That's not a very high rate of, catches as far as plays go. You're not going to have the ball in your hands every play. You are expected every time, every play to come off the ball hard. If you got to block. You're not going to get the ball every play.
Yeah. So like out of 60 plays, you may have 4 catches that game, and that might be a good game for you. But what's that percentage?
Way less than 10%
right.
of the time you have the ball in your hands.
Right. So what are you going to be doing most of the time? Blocking or running a route. Just because you don't get the ball, you still have to run your route. Okay, that's good. And I think it's important for coaches to know the role. When I was just an offensive line coach, I would have not went over to the quarterback and said, hey, try this or work on this. That's not my job. My job is to coach the offensive line. And about 3 years ago, I was working for a guy who was a head coach and offense coordinator. He hired me to be the offensive line coach. I didn't know the passing trees. I didn't want to know it because I had to focus on pass protection, run plays. And so I focused 100% of my time on that and perfected that.
So you don't think, as the offensive line coach, did you ever, throughout the year, did you want to learn them at all? Or did you?
Yeah, I wanted to learn them, and in the offseason I did. But
you're saying that wasn't your priority.
That wasn't my priority.
You have a job to do, and you're going to do that job.
Right. That was my job.
Okay.
And so I did learn them eventually, but for us to be successful on Friday wasn't based on the offensive line coach knowing the passing tree.
Oh, I get it.
So that wasn't my priority. Obviously, I want to know it, just so I know our complete offense, but being year one down there, trying to learn everything that they were doing, their scheme, my focus was on getting the offensive line to know what to do.
Because I know because I coach JV, I'm the head coach for JV and offensive coordinator for them, and obviously it's important for me to know other things other than receiver if I'm going to do that. That's kind of why I had a question. Did you have any? Obviously, you had a desire to be an OC, right? When you went down there,
right?
That's why I was kind of confused. So eventually you did want to learn.
Sure, and not necessarily run that scheme. I've collected things over the last 10 years that I've kind of bundled up all in one scheme, and I've used things that I learned from year one. I've used things that I learned last offseason, and I think that's important as an offensive coordinator that you use the things that you learn and make it your own.
Yeah.
If you don't believe in it, the kids aren't going to believe in it. Coach Daugherty, this is your second season. And so last year was your first season. So I want to kind of get your insight for young coaches that may be listening of things that they may expect, or if they have questions, they can reach out to you or me. Our contacts and email addresses will be in the bio. And so I want to get your insight. First off, what are some thoughts that were going through your mind when you decided that you wanted to coach football? What led you to the decision to coach football?
Well, whenever I knew I wanted to be a teacher and a coach from the first time I remember is a sophomore in high school at Riverside. I knew that I wanted to coach and teach as well. But what led me to it was I finished college I graduated from Marshall in exactly 4 years, but it felt like time flew. But I knew I wanted to get involved with the football team. You got to love the game in order to, want to coach. I mean, you know that. It's a lot of time, a lot of effort that goes into it. But I also knew that I wanted to get involved. So the reason I wanted to be a teacher and a coach is because I wanted to truly, truly make a difference in my community that I grew up in. because you grew up here as well, and we both have saw the community change dramatically. And, it's not necessarily for the better. It's kind of gone downhill as far as the whole community. And I knew from then that I wanted to get involved. And I think, what better way to get involved than to be a coach? Because we spend so much time with these kids that I think in order to truly make a difference in just one kid's life, you have to have that positive relationship with them. You have to be with them a lot of times so that you can help them, make that next step. And we were talking before that it's more like we spend more time with these kids than we do our own family. So, in a sense, this is a whole family that you have an opportunity to just transform to that next step. We always say 18 to 80 is our goal. 18 to 80. So
yeah. So what was the point, like in college? Did you know the whole way through college, like as a freshman, like that's your goal? You want to become a teacher and a coach, whether it be football or baseball?
Oh, yeah.
So that was your goal right out of high school?
Absolutely. And I'm such a competitive guy. Like after high school, when I was no longer competing in sports other than intramural sports and Marshall, I knew I had to have some kind of competitiveness. And this is a very competitive game. And I think as coaches, like you want to beat some of these teams so bad just because, it feels so good to beat this team.
Right.
And I think that's the competitive nature I have as well.
Right. Sitting all day at a desk isn't what you and I were called in this life to do.
Oh, absolutely not.
Going to the community, I think that the football team, in a lot of cases, are the face of the community. When I think about different communities around our area, and this is just me being a coach, the first thing that pops in my mind is the football team.
That's the only thing that's the only sport people talk about, really. At the barber shops, at the grocery store. How's Riverside football looking this year?
Right.
I coach baseball too. I rarely hear, how's the baseball team going to be?
Right.
It's always football, football, football.
Yeah, I go to a grocery store, football. Like, I know a little bit more than football. Like,
Yeah.
How you doing? No, I'm just joking, but that is what brings communities together is the football team on Friday night.
And there's some pressure there. I mean, there's pressure to win.
Right.
Even though we had a couple bad seasons, winless seasons. Like, now that we're finally winning, you got to make the playoffs now.
Yeah.
You're winning some games.
Only won 4 games last year,
Yeah.
but more than like talking about the wins, when I speak to people in the community, is they see the difference that we're making in terms of like the standards we hold these student athletes to. So, like, you can see, like, yeah, we're going to hold the door for someone an elderly lady coming in a grocery. Absolutely, we're going to do that. We're respectful to teachers. You see more of those, and you see less problems when you do set those standards. And I think the community is more grateful for that than the wins that we had last year.
And there's really no better feeling than, my son talks so much about you, you're doing a great job.
Yeah.
That is positive influence. Like,
you built that relationship.
Exactly.
And a lot of times having that relationship calms the waves, and you get more out of that person because they don't want to let you down.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, they don't want to let the team down or the community. And I think that's why it's so important for our team to participate in these fundraisers like car washes or what have you, because you do get to see the community. Because, you can see so-and-so wearing number 1 or 2, but that's all you really know them. But now you actually have that connection with them. You know who that person is. The second thing I was want to talk to you about is when you come in to coaching football your first year, looking back, what are some good things that happened to you to make you want to continue a career in coaching football?
You want me to start with the good or the bad?
The good. Let's go with the good.
All right. One thing that I really appreciate from our coaching staff, just personally, is I never felt like I couldn't go to somebody when I needed answers. Whether it's teaching, I always went to you. Whatever question I had, you were my student teacher. And then also in football, like whoever I needed to talk to, if I have a question about defense, I would go to our defensive coordinator, Coach Harrison. I would never feel inferior or stupid for asking a question, no matter how simple it was. Another thing is I learned so much in just a little bit of time because I was coming in, I was thrown right into the varsity level football. And I felt like I obviously needed to know more than I worked so hard to just learn at a quick rate. And I'm thankful for that, the resources I was able to have from you guys and also other resources to learn more about the game to better myself. And obviously the losing streak that I knew it was snapped. So that losing streak we had, obviously that's, the first game we played, we snapped it. And that was one of the best feelings I've had in a long time. As far as bad goes, I was 21 last year coaching my first year of football. And you could see, and I'm sure other people who are listening can see where that could be an issue. You're 21 years old. I'm only 4 years older than these kids. It's hard to set, like expectations. I don't have rules. I have expectations, but they're hard. It's hard for them to look at you and have that automatic respect that maybe somebody older than me would get. I'm a very young coach, so at times it's very difficult for me to, not anymore because I've been here for a year now, and the kids know what they're getting in me. But before, it was tough in that first year. Yeah. And with inexperience, as it was my last bad thing. Like, coming in, like I learned a lot, but I was also inexperienced. I think you can. I don't care how much football you know. There's inexperience can definitely have a role in how good of a coach you are. Sure. Like there's things that I never thought I would have to deal with that I dealt with last year. And I think that inexperience, it was difficult to overcome sometimes, but do I know more for it now? Absolutely. Like, it helped me, but sometimes you have to go to that bad to get to the good. So,
one coach told me my first year, something had happened. I think we didn't have a bus to come and get us, maybe. It was some situation like that. And a coach told me, if you're going to make this a career, you need to start writing things down that happens like this and how you would correct it. And don't just assume, like, I'll know what to do. So, like, throughout the career, like, I will make notes. And sometimes it's just mental notes. Well, don't do that. Or this is the better way to do that. And so that really helped me out. You having the resources that you had last year with our coaching staff, I really didn't have when I started. Because when I started, I was a ninth grade coach when we had ninth grade programs. So we were separate from the varsity and JV. We even practiced on a separate field. So it was hard for me to.
Where'd y'all practice?
Oh, we practiced on a baseball field.
Oh.
Yeah, we were about 100 yards away from the rest of the team.
I'm surprised they let y'all do that.
Yeah. I don't think they do it now.
Yeah.
But so when I had a question, I almost had to research it on myself or try to find a way to get in with the varsity coaches just long enough to get an answer. Because they had their own stuff to do. I realized that.
Did y'all run the same stuff?
It was similar, yeah. I wanted to try to mirror what they were doing. This is what we're doing.
Because they're learning. They're learning. They're
a very basic level. Yeah. So I would try to fit in there like right after practice. And sometimes our practice times are just a little bit different where some of the coaches may have already left before I could get in here to talk to them or our team's done before they're done. And so a lot of the ways I try to learn was just observe their practice and what they're telling people to do and the mistakes they make. My first year, we had two coaches for the ninth grade team. And I was asked to run the offense. So I didn't expect that much responsibility my first year. So I embraced that. And I rolled with it and tried to make it the best I could. And we ended up winning 7 out of 8 games.
That's tough.
And nothing to do with me. We had really good players. But I tried to mimic what the varsity was doing and hoping that I was teaching it right. So I took that off season to really sit down with these coaches and make sure I was doing things right. And some of them I wasn't.
So in my first year, it's like I didn't realize it was so not necessarily uncommon. It's my first year coaching. I didn't realize how uncommon it was for me to just go ahead and be a varsity coach. Or, I was the JVOC, and right. I handled most of the special teams and stuff. It's like I didn't realize that it wasn't really much pressure for me because you were always on the sideline, like this will be good here. How to attack different defenses, and still today I'm still trying to learn how to attack different coverages. But I never felt like I was by myself. Right. And I think that was like if you're a coaching staff, and this is supposed to be for assistant coaches coming into their first year, but I think if you are an experienced coaching staff, I think it's very important that you make these new coaches feel like they can come. You're approachable. Right. And you guys have done a great job with your approachability. Like I've never felt like I couldn't come to somebody. Right. Like if I had a question, I think that makes it very, very easy for me to improve myself. now I'm 22 years old, still learning. I have a long time I have a lot of things to learn, and I can always ask questions. So,
Sure. And I think I'm glad you said that. I think it's important for coaches to understand how hard it is for young people to come in and try to learn. So you do need that support staff. Number 3, can you give some young coaches advice for starting their career? Like how did you go about getting here?
yeah, I'm so embarrassed for this one, but whenever I first contacted you, and because I called you or you called me because I Facebook messaged you asking you if I could help. Like I wasn't expecting a salary job. Like I wanted to help. Like I wanted to volunteer, and you say, yeah, we could use some help. And I honestly thought I knew everything about football. But I knew so little. That's why it's so embarrassing now, and it humbled me so much. If you're going into your first year, be open-minded. You are not going to know anything until you get out there. There's a whole, like we talked about, it's different between knowing it and doing it. I can know a lot, but going out there and effectively coaching it is a completely different thing.
Sure.
So I knew some stuff, but I didn't know how. I wasn't very good at relaying the information and coaching it. And we talked about it a lot. You got to always look to improve. You have to improve as an assistant coach, as a new coach, because there's a lot of stuff you're not going to know. And I made that mistake thinking I knew a lot when I knew very little. So if you're going into your first year, you seek advice from other people who's been doing it much longer than you have. And, just be open-minded. Don't be stubborn.
All right, Coach. I think it's important that people keep an open mind too. You try to learn every day. We're going to end this podcast with a quote from Harry Truman. It's amazing what you can accomplish if you don't care who gets credit. And so I say that so that the coaches will embrace your role in the team and be the best that you can be at that role. You may aspire to be a coordinator. You might aspire to be a head coach, but whatever role you're holding now, you need to be the best at it. All right, we appreciate everyone listening. We'll look for your comments and get these conversations started, and we'll revisit and respond to your comments. We'll put our contacts in the information box below. Again, thank you for listening.